Welcome back to the Physics of Faith podcast. I am Tim.
I am Tommy.
And today we are going to wrap up our series of the epistles of John with 3 John.
3 John.
3 John. Tommy, are you ready?
I've been ready since 1 John.
Yeah. I was born ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we hope you're ready as well. We hope you've been following along. You're getting something out of this. We're going to start here in 3 John with verses 1 through 4. The elder to the beloved Gaius, whom I love in truth. Beloved, I pray that in all respects you may prosper and be in good health, just as your soul prospers. For I was overjoyed when brothers came and testified to your truth, that is, how you are walking in truth. I have no greater joy than this, to hear of my children walking in the truth. All right. So the obvious thing here, John's writing a letter to a man named Gaius.
Yeah.
First thing right off the bat.
Whoever that is.
Now, Gaius was a common name, and there are other men named Gaius mentioned in Acts 19:29, 24, and 1 Corinthians 1:14, Romans 16:23. So we don't know if this Gaius is any of those Gaiuses.
Right.
Right.
We also don't know how many that is, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
That's one guy or that's...
How many
Great.
Gaiuses were there? You know.
Yeah. If this was written in 2024, it'd probably be the one guy.
Yeah. How many Gaiuses could John write a letter to if John could write a letter to Gaius? Okay. So in his greeting, John wishes him well, praying that his eternal circumstances will mirror his internal ones, which is to say that Gaius is walking with the Lord. So that is good to know. And John is happy about this, right? He uses this phrase again, walking in the truth, showcasing the importance of walking with the Lord or practicing daily or having a lifestyle of being in God or knowing and living the truth.
Yeah, I think what is important to John here is that when some believers came and testified about your faithfulness to the truth, it wasn't that just he had heard that you guys were doing well, but others told him you guys were doing so great. Others wanted to tell me about it.
Right.
You know, and I think that's on purpose. Like I think there was some intentionality there.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to actually get into that a little bit as we continue here. But this also meant a lot to John because he sees Gaius as one of his children, which is to mean that John probably led Gaius to Christ.
Sure.
Right. Now, I think you can relate to this as a father when somebody tells us something one of our kids did.
Yeah.
That was good or that was awesome to hear. That does bring you a lot of joy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we just had parent-teacher conferences a couple weeks ago, and their teachers just spoke glowingly about both of our kids. And awesome. We've said from when our first had kids, like if they're a turd to us sometimes, okay,
yeah,
that's fine. That's going to happen. As long as they're well behaved for other people. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're family. You can get that out with us.
Yeah.
So that we can help refine ourselves for the rest of the world.
I probably shouldn't say being a turd. That's probably not the right word. But misbehaving, being not the best. Again, every kid's going to have it. Mm-hmm. So I didn't read that the way that it sounded. But
no, I think it sounded just fine. Okay, so why don't we continue through verses 5 through 8, and we're going to see a little bit more about what John has heard about Gaius. All right, so verse 5, Beloved, you are acting faithfully in whatever you accomplish for the brothers and sisters, and especially when they are strangers, and they have testified to your love before the church. You do well to send them on their way in a manner worthy of God, for they went out for the sake of the name, accepting nothing from the Gentiles. Therefore, we ought to support such people so that we may prove to be fellow workers with the truth. Now, if you remember, when we read 2 John, John actually gave them this admonition of be careful not to be hospitable to people who don't preach the truth.
Right, yeah.
But on the other side of this, be extra hospitable to those who are doing the work of God.
Yeah.
Right? And so the word that has come back to John is that Gaius is doing this. Mm-hmm. He is taking care of them in a way that is worthy of the name of God, right? So I think this is really it's really cool to hear, and you're seeing John is kind of building up Gaius right now. He's kind of creating an example of Gaius.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. The last words of verse 8 in my version are that we may work together for the truth. So even you may not be the ones going out, but taking care of them when they're back in and sending them out on their way, you deserve part of that work. Again, they may be doing the hardest work, but you together are doing that work. So take some pride in that.
Sure, absolutely. And of course, John asked Gaius to continue to do this, to continue to show this support, and that we should support those who work for furthering the name of Christ.
Yeah, and I think that's also, you talk a lot about spiritual gifts, and not everybody is meant to go to Africa.
Right?
God doesn't. Everybody has certain gifts, and everybody has certain talents, and so some people are the ones that are best at going out and evangelizing, and there are people that God created to help those to do that, to help them, keep them comfortable, to get them whatever they need, doing the behind the scenes work.
Yeah.
And God made those people for that, and they deserve just as much credit because they're doing what God has called them to do.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, let's continue on, and let's read verses 9 through 12. I wrote something to the church, but Diotrephes, who loves to be first among them, does not accept what we say. For this reason, if I come, I will call attention to his deeds which he does, unjustly accusing us with malicious words, and not satisfied with this, he himself does not receive the brothers either, and he forbids those who want to do so and puts them out of the church. Beloved, do not imitate what is evil, but what is good. The one who does what is good is of God. The one who does what is evil has not seen God. Demetrius has received a good testimony from everyone and from the truth itself. And we testify too, and you know that our testimony is true. All right, so in verse 9, John gets to business here, and after spending the first 8 verses praising Gaius, he now rebukes Diotrephes.
Yeah.
He accuses Diotrephes of valuing being in charge, right? He wants to be first among them. He sees himself as preeminent among the other people of the church.
Yeah.
I want to be the leader, right? This is pride. So Diotrephes has pride and arrogance, right? In that, he has begun acting maliciously against John and the apostles, and does not want to submit to their teaching or their authority, right? In the Greek, John refers to Diotrephes' words against them as being without merit and without grounding. He compares Diotrephes' words to the bubbling water, basically.
Yeah.
Which is, like we would say, it's hot air.
Yeah.
And Diotrephes has tried to deny John and anyone in any company coming to the church, right? He doesn't want John to come to the church. He doesn't want the apostles to come. And there's people here that he has kicked out, and he forbids them to be there, right?
Yeah.
This is in contrast to what Gaius was doing, right?
Yeah.
Gaius was receiving the brothers, those who were out doing the work of Christ. He was accepting them in, listening to them, hearing them, giving them a place to preach, right? But Diotrephes is refusing to do that. He needs to be the one doing everything.
Well, yeah, and think about what John is saying here. So in 2 John, he talks about those who are coming. Where did he say? Any such person with gone into the. I can't remember. But basically, the people who are doing the work of the Antichrist, that are deceivers, keep them out. Don't let them in.
Yeah.
That protect your church. But this guy, he says, so when I come, I will call attention to what he is doing. Yeah. So he's taking this a step further. And it's interesting because this is a guy who he's not saying that Jesus isn't Christ.
Right.
He's kind of doing the work from the inside. It sounds like he's supposed to be a leader of the church, but he's not doing it right. And so because of that, John's taking it a step further, and he's going to call it out to everyone and say and tell him, it's like, hey, this is not right. Not just go away, but bring it all up and take him before the judge and the jury.
Well, it's kind of like you were talking about earlier. It's good for some people to be the ones to preach, to go and do the thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's good for others to help facilitate it.
Yeah.
This is a guy who wants to do it all.
Yeah.
And he wants to be in charge. He wants to be the one who's preaching. He wants to be the one teaching and who has the semblance of authority, right?
Yeah.
And so then John is basically telling Gaius, hey, don't turn into this guy.
Yeah.
Right. But instead be like Demetrius. And he talks about how Demetrius has also received these good reports and has a really good reputation about what he has been doing. Right. So Demetrius and Gaius are kind of the same. They're very similar. And John's saying, Gaius, continue to do what you're doing. Do the things that Demetrius is doing, but do not do the things that Diotrephes is doing.
Yeah.
Because this is wrong.
Yeah, I think it means, in one of, Paul writes, I can't remember which letter he read, but he says this, but he says, follow me as I follow Christ.
Yeah.
So what he's saying is like, I am not Christ, so you're not following me. I'm just following Christ, and I'm showing you how to be I'm trying to be an example of what it means to follow Christ. So, because Christ is not around to see anymore, I'm going to try to live a life that is the best way of showing you what walking with Christ is look like.
Right.
And so that's what he's saying here is these are the men to follow. These are the guys that you should act like and follow and be like and strive to be like.
Yeah.
This guy's not.
Yeah. Model after these guys. Don't be like Diotrephes.
But I think that is a super important thing that to have those people in your life, because God said from the very beginning, it's not good for man to be alone. And when COVID happened and we were all told to separate, the mental health of our country went to the toilet. So we're not good to live our lives. It's not good to live our faiths on our own. Mm-hmm. We were meant to be together and to live together and to work together. And he says it is good to have these people to follow and to emulate your life like. And I've had several of those in my life, and I'm so thankful for them.
Yeah. No, it's always good. Something else that I'm thinking about here with Diotrephes is, John, as we've been talking about, John kind of keeps doing the if this, then that, and if not this, then not that kind of stuff. And he's done that through all of 1 John, 2 John, and a little bit here. But if we follow that pattern, like Diotrephes may have confessed in the true Jesus. Mm-hmm. But he has not seen God because he does not love his brothers and sisters.
Right.
He's malicious. He's doing something contrary to what the Jesus he confesses to be like would do. Right.
Yeah.
So this is almost like a practice in what John has just taught us in the last 2 books.
Yeah.
This is how you judge fruit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We're going to go ahead and read 13 through 15. I had many things to write to you, but I do not want to write to you with pen and ink. But I hope to see you shortly, and we will speak face to face. Peace be with you. The friends greet you. Greet the friends by name. Okay. So much like 2 John, John does not want to write a lengthy letter, but he'd rather speak face to face. So he said what he needed.
That's why 2nd and 3rd John is so short, I guess. Because
he's like, here's the cliff notes. I'm going to be there. We're going to talk about it. Yeah.
Exactly. Whereas Paul, not only did he go there, but he did write it all out.
Yeah. Like, I'm going to write you this lengthy thing, and then I'm going to come to check up on you to make sure that we're doing this, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, at the end, he says to the guys, hey, look, the boys say hello. We wish you peace.
Tell him I said hi.
Tell him I said hi, yeah. Yeah, and that's how he ends this. So, any thoughts about 3rd John that we haven't covered? I mean, honestly, I feel like anything we aren't covering with 3rd John, we already covered with 2nd John and 1st John.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of repetition there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I remember that we've said that about several of the writers that we've talked about.
Yeah.
Like really all of them have been repetitive. Mark, Paul, Peter, James, like they've all said in their own books, they've said the same thing multiple times in multiple ways, but all of them together are saying basically the same thing in multiple ways.
Yeah. But it is interesting with John because like you have 1st John where he talks about, are you pursuing God or are you pursuing the world?
Yeah.
And then in 2nd John, he talks about how to disfellowship yourself from those who are pursuing the world.
Yeah.
And then in 3rd John, he talks about the importance of accepting those who are in fellowship with God.
Yeah.
Right?
And here's an example of this.
Exactly. Yeah. It's almost like he does these case studies in 2nd John and 3rd John of everything he talked about in 1st John. So that's why we wanted to do these all together because they do pair very nicely. They do go together. They go from 1, 2, and 3 very, very well.
Absolutely.
All right. So this is probably the shortest episode we've done on this. But hey, that's fine.
Well, hey, it makes sense. I mean, I don't know which one of these is less, 2nd John or 3rd John. 2nd John looks like it's a little bit shorter than 3rd John, but I mean, they're the 2 shortest books in the Bible, so it makes sense that they're the 2 shortest episodes we've done.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, great. If you got something out of this, we are grateful. We're glad that you came on this journey with us. If you missed 1st John or 2nd John, I recommend going back and listening to those or watching those. But otherwise, we will come back with more somewhere here down the line, and we will see you when that happens.